Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, August 29th, and later today, since we're starting early right now with my sleep schedule being shifted in another way, will be the episode 1000 of Hearthstone. So we made it. We made it to 1,000 episodes of Hearthstone, whether I like it or not. Now, in all realisticness, that means I more than likely have recorded closer to 3,000 or 4,000 hours of Hearthstone, and potentially have played closer to 5, maybe 6,000 hours, because there's a lot of times I haven't played Hearthstone. I think 6 would probably be pushing it. We've got 2 daily quests to do, and this will come back in less than a half hour, so Tavern Brawl is going to be a problem. But I do want to start streaming and getting through the news. I want to have an abbreviated experience, as I often do. Get everything done, so I guess Priest or Warlock is what we can pick. I finished The Walking Dead: The New Frontier, Season 3. Priest or Warlock. Let's try to do Warlock in standard play. There we go. I really was disappointed in the New Frontier for The Walking Dead. I just don't feel like the story mattered at all. For as repetitive as Season 2 may have been, kind of just doing the same thing that Season 1 did poor, Season 3 did something different, but didn't have us play as Clementine, so she's just a secondary character. I guess technically you do get to play as her in some flashbacks that last a few minutes at most. So for advertising reasons you can play as Clementine, but for realistic reasons you don't. 90% of all the other characters totally just died. Like, there's nothing else to even say there. They straight up just died throughout the process of the game. It doesn't feel like that the New Frontier's endings were very varied. It feels like maybe there was one small section that could have played out differently, where you would have ended up in a different area doing a different thing in the 5th episode. But the first 3 episodes are almost 100% pointless. The characters are terribly written and don't have any characterization. I did not care for any of them at all, which is definitely a big problem when you compare it to, say, The Walking Dead Season 1, where you're very, very interested in protecting and caring for Clementine, and thus through that interest you're very interested in getting along and dealing with all the other characters in episode 1. It just really wasn't the same case, even though the story is rather similar to episode 1. Yeah, very frustrating trying to deal with one of the main antagonists in the story, because he certainly kept talking the talk but not walking the walk as far as reforming himself. So you would have these conversations where it felt like you had progressed and there was a chance you weren't going to end up having to kill this person just to eliminate them as a threat, and that's just, it didn't matter. Like, nothing you would say in a conversation would ever end up mattering at all. Instead, you would just always be in this position where he would say, yes, I'll get better, and then in the next scene he would not get better. He would still antagonize and cause danger and conflict for the greater group. To the point where I tried to kill him just by failing a quick time event, and it didn't let me do that. Let's see. Store 4 health. Let's see. This one. And this one. Then in the turn. I don't even really know if there's too much more to say. Clementine's journey is nothing in the entire season. She maybe slightly and particularly randomly grows as a character, but that's all I think I could really say. Alright, now if I play this, play this, draw 3 cards and discard them at the end of the turn. I don't see a real reason to do that. So yeah, I'm done with The Walking Dead. The only like licensed music in the entire game is over the credits at the last episode. So that's actually really poor placement of music, since it's not tying you into the story or getting you interested in the story. So yeah, that also sucked. A lot of things in general sucked. Let's see. Free me. And now we can start smacking this guy in the face. And then the turn. And that, now that I'm done with The Walking Dead, that leaves me with time to now upload those videos, schedule all of the Hearthstone solutions for the Boomsday Puzzle Lab, which the first episode of that has now aired, and because it is aired and gotten like 4 views, I think it was what I saw, which isn't great views. It still is double what I get from any other previously recorded footage. So knowing that, there's definitely something there to be happy about. Let's see. If I do this, and do this, and then do this, and then play this, and then play that for free. And can we kill somebody else on the field? Free me! Yeah. Okay. Free me! Someone a copy of this minion. Okay. So that's all that was gonna do ever. That's a relatively newer card, so I'm not 100% solid. Bonus star. Good. And that's one daily quest element done, and I haven't even started to think about talking about the news. Yeah, I'm gonna let's continue to streak and play Zoo Warlocks more. Spend a lot of extra effort uploading that. I've done some work and found out something interesting with OBS. There is a plugin called Advanced Scene Switcher, which is different than Automatic Scene Switcher. And so I can use a quick key. You could always do this to change the video input to a source, a different source, a different profile. Right now we're looking at the Hearthstone source, which shows Hearthstone. What I can do, I figured out, is I can press a toggle key that will switch to an outro source that will automatically load an outro video at the end of these streams and any other pre-recorded footage. It'll automatically load that outro. It'll play that outro. It's I can time it so that after a certain amount of time, it will move from playing the outro section, outro video, to a third scene, which this is where it gets complicated. So it goes from the original scene of recording the game to a second scene that is playing the outro. Once the outro scene has been activated for a few for whatever second amount I program, it will then move to a third scene that is just called end, and I've programmed it so that whenever that scene is activated, advanced scene switcher automatically stops the recording. So in streaming Hearthstone in particular, this would mean after an hour I would hit that key, it would stop the stream and stop the recording. I would then quickly hit the start recording streaming again function, which is what you would want to have happen, so that I could continue to stream, and I assume YouTube would not really complain about that too much, because it does seem like it takes several minutes of YouTube not getting any streaming data before it decides the stream was ended. Or maybe it would just stop the stream and we'd start another stream. That would kind of suck, definitely, and I'd have to think about that some more. But there's definitely ways to fix that. Now, in part of the way of setting this up, as soon as I have the outro recorded and a few more configurations going, and the outro would automatically play, and no more of me wasting my breath repeating myself, saying the same things at the end of every recording. To get that to work, though, there is an issue of wanting the audio to be recorded and not recorded in specific points. So like right now, both the microphone audio and the desktop audio want to be recorded, but when the outro video is playing, only the video audio should be recorded, so not the desktop or not the microphone. I'd want those two muted, and at the end screen nothing's going to record because it's just going to hit stop and stop recording. So to do that in OBS, it's kind of a backwards way in which you accomplish this, but it is something you can do. You mute the desktop and the microphone by default, and then you add the desktop and the microphone back as virtual references to it as audio sources. So that you add the desktop as an audio output source, you add the microphone as an audio input source, and that's what you're hearing right now, which also means I had to get the noise filter reestablished, but I think it's working perfectly fine. Somebody would have to let me know in the chat if it isn't. If you're hearing like background noise of an air conditioner or some just general room noise in my stream, which more than likely, even if you were hearing that, it's pretty possible that you're hearing it in your own room. And so on games like Hearthstone, you have the virtual desktop and the virtual microphone. On the outro scene, you don't have either one of those, so they're just muted by default. And on the end scene, you don't have anything programmed at all. It just needs to be an empty scene. So it's really, really interesting how I had to dance around that to get it to work. Unfortunately, I would still say OBS is short and light on plugins and short and light on features, but as I'm working to set it up, this will add a incredibly large and good amount of automation to my process. no longer what originally when making an outro, the thing that was actually stopping this from happening before this point was the idea of using video editing software to attach the outro to everything. I have a couple programs that are combined to be called the MP3 tools or MP4 tools. Yeah, it's MP4. And MP4 tools are MP4 split and MP4 join. It changes. It doesn't re-encode the videos, so you run into a nice setup where you don't have to take a lot of time to merge two videos or split two videos into parts. It's very, very fast. Whereas if I was using something like Sony Vegas Pro or what is it, Adobe Premiere or any video editing tool that has a more recognizable name, Blender potentially could be used if you can figure it out. Those would take a really, really long time because they would look at every single frame of the video and re-encode it back into a new file, which takes forever. And that's what most YouTubers do, and often they do jump cuts and more effort is applied to make their footage look a little bit more polished at the expense of a lot more work.
How long
and
can this go on? How long can this go on?
I'm simply just not willing to do that extra amount of work. And maybe there are goals on my Patreon, which the Patreon information I spent a lot of time, I'm not sure if I want to call it effort, readjusting all of my old videos so the Patreon links are now supposedly in every video. If you see a video description that is all messed up terribly, let me know. I know particularly some of that first stuff before Witcher 3, stuff that was recorded on my Windows laptop instead of my PC. I know that stuff is not labeled the same way because for the hardware setup description it's different. I could probably won right now. Actually, I can win this way anyways. Just denying me that final blow. Win streak is continuing. I don't want to break the win streak. Like, I've got all the daily quests done already. Let's just keep on playing. Well, let's just play until we lose. If Zoo Warlock gets me up to Legendary in some insane way, I'll just play all day. So what was I talking about?
Gul'dan versus Jaina.
Yeah, I changed the description. I probably screwed up some things. I definitely know in the process I screwed up a lot of things, and I did not follow procedures, or in the way I followed procedures I did it wrong. So I'm imagining that the text is pretty badly set for a lot of videos, but hopefully not too many. I have over 6,000 videos on my feed. If it turns out that let's say 100 of those are mislabeled and they are all in the same series, that's pretty easy to go back and fix if I ever find it. It's also pretty easy to ignore. Would have been fine to simply not change the old ones if it weren't for the fact that this was adding donations and donation links, which I do want the Patreon to be visible, because the Patreon is now visible now. What got me into this whole statement in the first place was the idea of setting goals, and I would have to sit down and think about it. But there is definitely room to say, hey, if my Patreon feed was getting, say, $2,000-$3,000 a month, I'll hire a full-time assistant who makes thumbnails, who's an artist, and also schedules all my videos and also edits all my videos. That's certainly asking a lot of money for something that I'm sure a lot of people would not really think is necessary. There is also a point there, if I'm going to pay somebody $3,000 or $4,000 a month, which to work full time, maybe at some point I should also pay myself that much first. I mean, that argument I think could definitely be made. And that's the problem with goals and just like on Patreon is, what would my first goal be? Do I need an artist who makes thumbnails, or do I need an assistant who schedules everything? Can I find that same person? Can I find a person even if I had the money to work for me? That certainly would be an issue too. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people who will say that they can get the job done, and will get the job done, but the number of people that actually would get the job done is a much smaller percentage there of that group. I think thumbnails are still very much an important thing that needs to be done. Going back and putting better thumbnails on all my old videos might help them get some views in the old days, but the main focus would definitely just have thumbnails for new series. I could certainly buy into the argument that the old series are a lost cause at this point. Leftmost minion in the hand. Let's just keep on playing this and doing this, and then return. Let's start covering the video game news. Because this might be a short stream. PC Gamer has an article. Family Man is a morality tale about owing money to the mob. It's like Minecraft, but plays like something else entirely. Like Minecraft in the sense that it is that same old blocky asset flip looking animation, that anytime I see a game like this at this point, I'm very disappointed with them, or not likely to play these. Yeah, this is literally just a Roblox clone game, and a PC Gamer is falling for it. Just because it's about owing money to the mob. Even if the story is great, this is still just a Roblox clone. This is an asset flip game. A low effort game, in my opinion. Let's see.
Mushroom power! Stop beat me! Mushroom power!
Okay.
Stop beat me!
Hit that. Hit that. And go ahead and hit that in return. PC Gamer has a different article. Get board games without the boards in the Humble Digital Tabletop Bundle. No boards, no dice, no tabletops. It all runs on the PC. PC Gamer. Since we're talking about it now, I guess I could go ahead and just click on the link and look at this bundle and see what I think about it. Ticket to Ride complete bundle, I already have that. With Ticket to Ride Android edition for $1. Ticket to Ride I've covered and played, and I was not impressed with the quality of the game, nor really super happy with the game in general. Sentinels of the Multiverse.
It's playtime.
Mysterium, a psychic card clue game for Android edition. Interesting, you're going to get Android versions and the regular. If you pay more than $5.86 on average, you'll get Pathfinder Adventures, Carcassonne Tiles and Tactics, Sentinels of Multiverse Shattered Timelines, Talisman Digital Edition, Talisman, the Highland Experience, Talisman, the Dungeon Expansion, and just Talisman. If you pay $10 or more, you get Armello, A-R-M-E-L-L-O. I don't know, if you like these board games, maybe you'd pay the average to get Carcassonne. Probably not going to get much of a better deal to get Carcassonne, but I already have that game. If you're just going to play $1, there might be an offer there that interests you too if you're just trying to play one card game or one board game, which there's pretty decent thought that is a possibility. Oh, I should have played it in the opposite direction. Oops.
Again.
Yeah, if you were specifically only interested in playing one board game and was paying $1 for it, you'd be fine digitally. Of course, Tabletop Simulator, always an issue with board games on Steam. Most of those board games would probably not be easily played on Tabletop Simulator, but the question certainly is there. There you go. TechRaptor has an article, Bullet Points Bloodborne's Insight. I'm going to scroll down here. I think this is just an article talking about Bloodborne's artistic style and storyline. Yeah, there's no review number or anything here. This might have been an interview with some of the developers of Bloodborne. Let's do 30 damage, drop a card. About to lose. Let's see, PC Gamer has an article, Exploring Middle-earth with cards is mostly a blast in Lord of the Rings living card game. Looking at a screenshot of Lord of the Rings living card game, it looks a lot like Hearthstone. Although, it does seem like it has a third metric besides health and attack. And of course, mana. I keep on just trying to play, but on the face of it, it looks like a card game. There seems to be a ring you can use, like the One Ring, or one assumes it's the One Ring. Could be a different ring. The problem here is the number of cards. It says each mission lets you take in a deck of 30 cards. And how many cards in total compared to 4 or 5 years into the development of Hearthstone? Like, what really would make you jump ship from Hearthstone into Lord of the Rings? I suppose if you were a super fan of this, you might jump into it in the same way that if you were a super fan of Star Trek, you might have been interested in playing the Star Trek game, which I've heard nobody talk about that Star Trek game at all since it came out. But the player base is going to be incredibly smaller than what you get normally compared to Hearthstone. Okay, we have no quests. This is coming back, it says, in less than 1 hour. Kind of have nothing to do. So, switch over to some Murloc play. We're just gonna waste our time and play some Murlocs. GameIndustry.biz orders a takedown of the fan game maker Pokemon Essentials. It's a decade-old asset kit for RPG Maker pulled along with a wiki on how to develop with it. So Nintendo is continuing to clamp down on anything that they claim as their copyright. In the wake of the next Pokemon coming out, and I wonder if this is in some way an admittance that they know that the next Let's Go Pokemon games for the Switch are not going to be very well received. And they're saying this is Nintendo and not Game Freaks. So it's not the makers of Pokemon, it's the people who own the license. And this is Nintendo of America, so Nintendo of Japan can pretend like their hands are clean. But they most definitely are not. And it looks like Pokemon Essentials really is just an asset kit that may not even be assets actually from Pokemon, it just looks like Pokemon. This has been around for 11 years and nobody has complained about it. And now they're complaining for some reason.
Job done.
Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. The Onrush director Paul Rushchinsky joins Project Cars developer Slightly Mad Studios. Rushchinsky is RUSTCHYNSKY. The thing here is when they say they're joining a new place, they're not inherently saying that they're leaving the old place. It is possible you could be working for both, although the way he phrases it in this tweet is, "Today is the beginning of my new adventure at Slightly Mad Studios," which is a bit of an implication that his old adventure, his old job is done. It's also hashtag new job, hashtag first day. Let's see. We have a game on Steam called Toy Gun Office Simulator. It seems like everything has been drawn in wireframe and it's just standing in one place shooting these wireframe objects in an office, but the fact that you're in an office seems like it's just background. Well, okay, now I'm seeing some people running in that might be like zombies or something. That might make a little bit more sense. Do I want to kill one of these? Let's do that.
Job done.
Yeah, I don't really see a game here. Toy Gun Office Simulator is 20% off for $44.79. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's an actual game that would make you'd want to play there. I think we already talked about this before, but GameIndustry.biz has an article, Why Velocity Supernova Needs a Publisher but is struggling to find one. Yeah, we heard about particularly this game coming out and saying they're having trouble finding a publisher, probably ensuring they never will find one. it is an interesting, like, theoretical thought about what does a game developer have to do to not be signable as a publisher. When you know that Kickstarter people that really have little to no credibility can get publishers, so the developers of We Happy Few, for instance, that was a Kickstarter game and they got a publisher with Gearbox. We know there's been plenty of games. Yandere Dev signed with a publisher and then eventually split with them under creative differences, for lack of a better euphemism. So I don't know, maybe the creator of Velocity is just a right-wing Trump supporter and is vocal about it, and that's why no publisher wants to touch him. Maybe they do background checks and see there's something in his history that they don't want to work with him, or maybe the game just didn't sell enough. Maybe he accidentally proved that his game was not marketable. And I don't know what complaining about it really means at this point. If he can't get a publisher, his two choices are kind of simple. He self-publishes on Steam Direct, or he doesn't release the game. But complaining doesn't change anything. Moving on, Gamer Sutra has an article. Weather Factory launches Coven Club to help connect women in games. So the cultist simulator developer Weather Factory has launched the Coven Club, which I can already guarantee you that some women in the video game industry are not going to like the association and the thought of being implied to be witches. But it's an initiative to help women in the game industries connect and forge new relationships. I did certainly have a thought about how relationships in relationships inside of the video game industry and mainstream gaming news journalism might become too cozy with each other, which they all most definitely do get too cozy with each other, simply because people are just obsessed with the idea of networking, and that it's good and it's a smart idea to quote unquote network with people in the video game industry. So even from day one, when you hire an intern, they're going to have in the back of the head, I better be friendly to all these video game companies because I might work with these people in the future at some point, work for these people in the future, or work with some of the employees at this company in the future, which is a real evidence that there should be like a non-compete type clause in any video game journalist's position that says for 6 years after working in the video game industry you will not work for a video game company or a marketing firm that markets video games or anything like that. Any company that you ever came in contact with, or any company in the same field as the companies that you came in contact with, just to ensure that there's no chance of cronyism happening. Alright, Tavern Brawl is back. Of course, it's very possible that the Tavern Brawl for like the European account won't come for several hours. Death is not quite the end because minions have death rattle with death rattle now, rather twice. Interesting. So who has the most death rattle things? I would say it would be Hunter. And then death. Just search the phrase death. See, this is not wild decks, right? So do damage to the enemy hero. 2 damage to the enemy hero. Let's see. Gain some armor. Draw some cards. 3 damage to a random enemy minion. Summon the 5/5 skeleton. 2 damage to all enemies. There you go. That for sure. Does Rydo for your opponent's turn. Summon some 8 things. Heal. Do we have anything here that matters? There you go. We'll activate these 2. Destroy some random enemy minions. Trigger a friendly minion's death rattle. 2 damage to all enemy minions. Death rattle cards cost 2 less. I have 4 more cards that I can put in here. Trigger those twice. Why not? Recruited beast. This, and that. Okay. Should be an interesting enough tavern brawl. Let's see if there's anything that, let's see, that needs to be said about the Coven Club. It's a free monthly event. First will take place in Zifferblatt in London, September 26th, which potentially, is it open open to men attending, or probably not. They'll probably kick all the men out, even if they want to hear what is being said or support the place. Can sign up to get a ticket over at the Weather Factory website. Let's see what it takes to get a ticket. Well, it's asking for my email immediately. Here's one in the article on the website. Are men evil? Just to be clear, of course, they're not. Men are just as fallible and just as delightful as women, but this meetup wants to be as relaxing and friendly as possible, and some women may not feel comfortable talking about certain experiences or opinions in a mixed-gendered environment, so I'm keeping Coven Club women only for now. Let's see. Is Coven Club an actual coven? You can't prove nothing, is all it says. Yeah, it's already like, the problem with something like this is how
Job's done.
well equipped is the cultist simulator lady that's running this to run this show and have any useful or productive conversations or interactions whatsoever. Does this just boil down into a social club, a wine group, something along that lines, where they just get together and accomplish nothing? or do they really get together and think up new great ideas and support each other and help each other grow? Interestingly enough, I just finished playing The Walking Dead Season 3, and the main female who was supposed to be romantic lead, but I had no interest in romancing her, as she was my sister-in-law, and this was the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and there were kids involved, so I was at no point willing to break up a home. Let's see if this activates twice. Yeah, it does. Okay. So the main female romantic character had this problem of her always trying to run away from her responsibilities slash problems, run away from taking care of her own kids, while I was playing as her brother-in-law, helping take care of her kids. If anything, I should have been the person running away. And she was always trying to lean on the character I was playing as emotionally, and she just was not what I would describe as a strong, independent woman. She just wasn't. And it wasn't until the very end of the game that I started, she showed any form of strength emotionally or reliance on herself. And I kind of wonder if you get into clubs like this, maybe you get the support you need, but maybe some people are just feeding a codependence, and just it becomes a area where people on a monthly basis whine about why their life is not the way they'd like it to be, but they're really not doing anything to change it. And that's really for everybody. It's like support groups of any kind could just become a crutch. And yeah, there's definitely some questions about how productive any support group would be. On the other hand, until we hear news come out that actually it was a huge waste and it was pointless, that's not really... until the drama happens, we might as well not speculate about potential drama that might happen. VidCon, I think, is kind of a good example of that too. Is how useful or helpful is it really for a small-time video creator to go to VidCon? How useful or helpful was it ever? I don't know, but it nowadays seems like you're just wasting your time. Wasting your time to maybe find a small group of people that you know and want to hang out with. But yeah, not really, I think, doing anything helpful. I don't feel like after VidCon happens each year, a bunch of YouTubers have all the new insights on the YouTube algorithm, which I think VidCon is run by Viacom now. It's not even run by Google. So I don't think there's great insights or helpful things, and I have certainly watched videos that are supposed to be support videos for YouTube creators, and most of them are scam videos, straight up. They're just there telling you the very basic things that YouTube already tells everybody. Things like look at your watch time and pay attention to your thumbnails, and some of them will go as far as to tell you to clickbait or sort of imply you should clickbait. Some of them won't, but nobody's got any big secrets or surprises. If there is anything interesting or new to be said to a creator to help them, it's things about attitude and self-determination and time management and how you treat your audience. It's not about, oh, your thumbnail should look like this, your video should be like this. It's not just basic. Let's see. If I do this, it merges the death rattles, doesn't it? Ooh, magnetic, and then death rattle triggers twice. Interesting. Interesting. Moving on, even though I have probably plenty of time, I could continue on that rant. PC Gamer has an article, Dying Light Bad Blood is a promising spin on the Battle Royale, but I'll wait until it's free. The Battle Royale spin-off launches in early access with a $20 Founders Pack, but it'll be eventually free to play. It's kind of interesting that Dying Light would go into this genre, but seems like that is going to happen. Let's hit this.
Job done.
I really need to get close to playing Dying Light, and the thing about Dying Light, even though it's a zombie game, it's not really a horror game, so I think I would be perfectly fine covering it outside of October. Well, I managed to kill myself. Yeah. I also kind of feel like had a slightly better story been written and told throughout the first 3 seasons, and I guess the Michonne season of the Walking Dead Telltale games, if those stories had been in Dying Light which is an actual game. I kept referring to Telltale game. The Telltale game is not really a game because it's just like nothing but QuickTime events. Very few QuickTime events, even at that. Just the ability to actually run around and kill some zombies every now and then would have stretched the length and given me a more visceral feedback.
None can escape my fury.
Let the hunt
And then
begin.
if you want it to be the Dead Rising games does something slightly interesting with a storyline, although Dead Rising is a ridiculous storyline, where you play over and over again trying to save more people and get a better outcome, and every time you lose the game you start over at the beginning and you get some XP upgraded. I believe that's pretty much how it works for Dead Rising, or all the Dead Rising games. I could see the Telltale games working that way too, where you make the wrong decision, you die, you have to go back to a specific point, you get some experience, or you get some knowledge. That's where Life is Strange did something very interesting in Life is Strange 1, where it brought back, it allowed you to learn information and make different decisions if you could rewind time. Of course, in the instances that it'll let you rewind time, often it didn't let you rewind time back as far as you'd want to. And speaking of rewinding, Season 3, The New Frontier of The Walking Dead, loses the ability to pick specific scenes in the game and go back. You have to restart the entire chapter and start playing from the beginning. So you have, it went from, I would say 30 checkpoints down to only 5. Let's see, TechRaptor has an article called Crowdfunding Spotlight, Heroes Tales of the Tomes. I don't know if this is a new thing they're doing. It seems like this is a crowdfunding game for an actual tabletop game too, so yeah, it's another tabletop story. All the video game websites are getting more and more into not talking about video games. And there was something else that just occurred to me. Can I remember what it was? Or have I lost it? Seriously, am I really playing this badly? Or am I What is going on here? Why have I not won yet? I might be playing pretty badly.
Versus Rexa.
Well, moving on, I suppose. I'm not going to be able to remember what I was thinking about. Gamer Sutra has an article. Get a job. Velen Studios is hiring for an online programmer. Velen Studios is an independent game developer with a passion for the unconventional. We're looking for great programmers with online multiplayer experience. So I've never heard of Velen Studios, so it could be Valen Studios. So I'm gonna click on this link and do a little bit of research. So let's go to the website. Let's see. They just have values, locations, careers, blog. And it seems like they've never worked on a game before, because there's nothing on their website that shows any indication that they've released a product. Let's see. They released in 2017 on March 19th a open source code, and that seems to kind of be it. Like nothing else. Probably should have saved that. Yeah, they're working on just engine stuff, it seems. Balance Studios. So, I suppose, yes, you could get on the ground floor at a new video game company, and that might help you grow your career. Of course, they're also making the mistake of trying to make a multiplayer game before doing anything else. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to say, here's a bunch of codes. It's probably too late now. They're giving away Screen 7, which is the developer or publisher of games like, I believe, The Cat Lady and The Adventures of Fat Man point and click games, has done the thing that I have chided Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox, for doing, and I feel it's only fair to point this out too, where my stance has not changed. It's a nice thing for companies to donate and retweet charities of people that they may or may not know, but you are opening your company to looking unprofessional. You're opening your company to potentially being a part of a scam, and it's just not what companies are. It's not what companies should be. It's not what companies are. They should just be these moralless, evil, we want to make money entities, limited in their thought process and actions to just making money and, you know, maintaining employees and paying employees and paying shareholders if we must have shareholders. So yeah, they donated to a GoFundMe called Help with Steve's Kidney Transplant, and they donated to a Ariana and Aileen Memorial Fund, which then got tweeted to their Twitter. There's nothing inherently wrong, in my opinion, with them donating, and I do have to applaud them actually donating and not just retweeting and giving exposure to things that they won't even put their own money into.
My hand
but
is too
it's
full.
just not appropriate. And shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be done by Randy Pitchford. Shouldn't be done by anybody. Even me as a YouTuber, I don't think if I was going to donate to other things, that is not how I wouldn't have it coming out on a public Twitter unless I did it accidentally. That is also an interesting thing about Patreon, is that in theory, if I get donated as a Patreon, I could send that donation back to another creator. Let's see. Do 2 hyenas. Do this one. And this one. And just do that. And do this.
Job's done.
In the turn. I don't think my immediate thought, though, I'm gonna be a little greedy, frankly, on the Patreon. Like, as that's open now and there's an opportunity for somebody to be the first donator, if they're donating like $1 or $2, yeah, I'm just gonna let that build up and make sure, at least at the beginning, that all the transactions go through and I can actually get that into a bank account without losing tons of money in transaction fees. And frankly, in the same way, it would be very, very helpful and nice if I could earn a living wage doing this job, instead of doing this job for basically peanuts or nothing at this point. Let's see. Oops. Maybe that was a good thing. That didn't play the way I would have thought it would. Anyways, Gamasutra has an article. Nintendo rolls out indie-focused Switch news channel. Nintendo has launched a new channel for the Nintendo Switch built-in newsfeed that focuses entirely on indie games coming to this platform. I believe this is probably the beginning of some curation and filtering of the Nintendo store, so that the cheaply made, low-effort visual novel style games that I imagine they will still certainly allow on Steam, not Steam, I'm thinking about Steam too much, they'll almost certainly allow that still on Nintendo's store, but I bet they will start to focus more and more around highlighting just a few indies and a few AAA, AA games. There's really nothing more to say in this article, though. So let's move on. Gematsu has an article. Langreaser 1 and 2 launches February 7th, 2019 in Japan. So we have now an official date of the Langreaser 1 and 2 series. Let's see, it's an RPG, Japanese RPG game. And yeah, looks like an old school Japanese RPG, maybe with some 3D graphics, maybe not. And most of the screenshots are taken from a audience perspective from far away. Nobody just releases the press information, even to slightly Japanese companies like Gematsu, which I assume at least has some reason. to get some special access. Just keep on killing things. We've got a game on Steam called Green Hell. It's tagged Early Access Survival Indie. Let's see. It looks to me like it's a forced clone. Like realistic looking survival game. Forced was a realistic looking survival Minecraft clone. Yeah, it seems like it has a slightly interesting ability where you can hurt your arm and then have to wrap it in like banana leaves. And maybe some story sections. Give a friendly minion death early summon twice. Let's see. I'm gonna resummon this. Swap decks just to drive them crazy. Let's see. I'm gonna hit that one because I'm gonna die anyways. Then I'm gonna hit this one. That should be fine. There literally is nothing wrong with Green Hell visually, but it still looks like it's a very low effort game. It's $19.99. The Forest really never came out enough to be popular, and I just don't think anybody can capture what Minecraft did. I think Minecraft is Minecraft, and any clone of Minecraft is not worth talking about. In the same way that Pac-Man is Pac-Man, and sure you've got Miss Pac-Man, and frankly Miss Pac-Man probably is better than Pac-Man. Let's see. But no Pac-Man clone ever really succeeded and brought people to play. And Green Hell looks exactly like that. It's just it's first game from this developer. There's no way to give it any credibility. Let's see. PC Gamer has an article. The latest Brutal Doom update means the mod is basically complete. Version 21 unleashes a full blast of new features. So, Brutal Doom, as I understand it, is a mod for like Doom 2. Let's see. Or maybe kind of a slight changing and remaking of the ideas that are present in Doom 2. There's a quote here that says, while future updates will focus entirely on bugs, there are still a few things to add. Primarily support for the latter levels of Doom 2 and Ultimate Doom. But Sergeant MK4 states that those won't even require testing. So, yeah, seems like maybe some Brutal Doom is a rebuilt engine of the older Doom games, which I don't know why you really would need that, unless it's just adding entire gameplay mechanics that, let's see, we could do this. And we can do this. And do this. And that's that. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Riot Games is, quote, a long way from breaking even on esports investments. The head of global esports events explains the company's decision to cut cost, focus investments on the next 3 years. Alright, well, I officially hate this tavern brawl. I don't know what to do with it. I literally don't have a clue as far as what I am supposed to do to make a better death rattle deck than what I did. And even if I wanted to make the tavern brawl death rattle deck right now, I can't in this area. Summon a bunch of Trents, that's not going to help. This was doing a bunch of damage, and we could do mechs. There's like nothing here. I really don't think there's a better character than Hunter to make a death rattle deck with. And struggling on the tavern brawl is certainly not the way I would have liked to stretch out the stream. Yeah. Okay, well, we've gone an hour and 13 minutes, so this is a good point to break up. Riot Games is a long way from making money. They've spent too much on esports as far as GamingIndustry.biz is concerned. Or that article. That's all I really need to hear. It's a financial story, so I'll end that there. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me, there's now 2 ways. You can friend me on Steam and gift me a game, or you can just click the Patreon link down below at the bottom of the description. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.